Good evening. It's so glad to have you back with us. We're just truly excited about the show that we have planned for you this evening. So we're glad to have you here. I'm Tom Waters, I'm your host. And for my first guest, I have Kathie McKenna. Kathie, I just want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you so much. I always love coming.
It is so good because I know we're going to have a lot of exciting information with the audience that's watching. They're going to be writing down all this information because you've got some new news, things that you don't even know about yet, but you're going to be learning so much from this young lady that I'm excited about what she's going to be telling us. She's the executive director of Nevada Outreach, and we already know that. And we've also considered her the executive director for CASA, which has changed their name now to Acorn. And I'm going to let her explain all of that and why the change or anything else. But you'll remember she's Nevada Outreach and she's Acorn. So, Kathie, I'm going to turn it over to you. And let's talk about, first of all, what is Acorn and why Acorn?
Acorn is Advocates for Children of Rural Nevada. And I'm actually very excited, Tom, that I'm getting to launch it on your program.
Beautiful.
So we just changed our name in April. It's been a huge process, much bigger than I thought it was going to be. Our acronym is ACORN. Judge Lane calls us nuts. It's all in good humor, and you know what? You have to be a little nuts to do what we do. So our mission is the same. So Pioneer Territory CASA, we've just changed our name to Advocates for Children of Rural Nevada.
Okay.
There's no different in our mission. We are still training volunteers to be advocates for children that are in the foster care system and in court. But with that change, we've also expanded a bit. And we are also going to be doing educational advocacy for children in the school system. And it's not just foster kids, it's kids that are struggling. And we know kids are struggling in our school system right now. And so we're going to have a new program where we reach out preferably to a lot of ex-teachers because they've retired. You know they miss those kids.
Absolutely.
And this will give them the opportunity to be able to still stay involved in children's lives and to truly make a difference in their lives. Along with that, we're looking at starting a juvenile probation advocacy. Kids that are getting in trouble, they're not foster care kids, but kids that are struggling to get, they either are struggling in school, they can be struggling at home. There's a wide variety of reasons why these kids end up, sadly, in the juvenile system. And so we are also looking at being advocates for those children. And it's going to probably look more like a mentorship to try to help these kids turn their lives around. Because as we know, being in the justice system is not someplace where you want to be. So hopefully this will help those children realize where they are and to be able to get out of it. So, but our still main focus is the foster children.
Okay.
Today we are serving 65 children and we have 35 children that are not served.
Even before you get into that, I like the fact that you mentioned advocacy and you mentioned mentorship.
Yes.
And you tied that together. Now, there may be somebody out there that don't really know when you say advocate, in what way are you advocating for these children?
So a lot of times, like in the educational advocacy, we've got children that are struggling and do not have what is known as an IEP. So it's an individual education plan.
Yes.
And some of those children need to have more attention. Some of them need tutorship. Some of them need specialty classes, maybe away from other children so that they have the ability to study. And if there's no one there advocating for that child to say, well, wait a minute, you've got this child mainstreamed and this child is struggling, we need to do something different. And a lot of time the school does have a little resistance there, so that'll be our job to work with the school, with the parents, and with the child to help them get what is needed for that child.
Is it still in the court system like it was with CASA?
It will not be in the court system.
Okay.
So it'll just be working with the kids. I mean, hopefully we'll have truancy won't be an issue, but we do have a very large problem with truancy in our school system right now. That is, I think, one of the major problems. And as my mom says, half of it is just showing up. So I think if we can get the kids going to school, getting them to be in those seats, it will make a huge difference. But also to be able to make sure that we've given them all the advantages that they need and all the tools they need to be successful. Because if they're going to be successful in life, they have to read and they have to write and they have to have math. It's imperative.
Yes. When we talk about ACORN and advocates for children in rural Nevada, it seems that children in rural Nevada always have a wall that they're bumping into. And to have advocates, somebody, as you said, mentors, the mentorship program, to mentor them through that and help them. Now, some children don't know they need help. And those are the ones that I know that's where you have the mentorship part go in there.
It is, and it's tough for some kids. And this is anywhere from kids in 2nd grade to kids that are in 10th grade.
Okay.
You know, sometimes trying for those kids, you know, the 2nd graders can sometimes be as tough as those 10th graders. And so that's kind of our job, is just to make sure that we are able to help stand up for those children and get them the rights that they deserve. And that's really what we do in the court system with the foster kids.
Okay.
Because when we're in court, we are advocating to make sure that they're getting therapy treatments that they need to have, medical visits and appointments. You know, some of these kids haven't seen dentists or doctors. Some haven't been vaccinated. So our job is to make sure that that child is getting every opportunity to thrive while they're away from home and while their parents are working their case plan to hopefully get their kids back. So the advocacy is really the same between the two. It's just one's in front of a judge and one is not, unless it's a truancy issue. And so that might be a little bit different. But other than that, it's looking out for the best interest of that child.
Now, I have to go back and ask, being a former school administrator and a teacher, also a military, but looking at how does this work with the parents? Because sometimes parents are a hindrance, sometimes they're a help, and we need somehow to also make them advocates and mentors as well.
And sometimes it's just a lack of knowledge. You know, it's how it's actually approached. There's a lot of people that are willing for help as long as it's approached properly.
Okay.
I think a lot of people are like, you know, don't tell me what to do. You know, you can't do that. You know, this is my child. But at the same time, when you look at those parents and say, we are here to help you with the best interest of that child, and we, looking at this child, that child could use a little additional attention.
Okay.
This child could use an IEP to be able to grow more, because if they're stagnant, I mean, I had a young foster child who was in 10th grade. He read at a 3rd grade level. And you know, when you're in 10th grade trying to go back to 3rd grade, it's not going to happen. And so hopefully we can catch these kids early enough to be able to help them.
That's the important part. Timeliness is so important. And if you can't catch them early, we lose those kids. And they become the citizens that are problems later on.
That's right. And so I will tell you though, Tom, those people that would like to help, they're welcome to give us a call. Whether it's an advocate for foster children, our training starts this week, but we will have another training session in the fall. But we've got 19 advocates right now, and I got 35 children who are not being served. So those people that would like to step up and help is wonderful. We do have 5 people that are in our class right now, and so that will help some of the load. I still need more advocates. And then we will be needing advocates for our educational piece. And so they're welcome to go to our website. Our website's www.acornv.org. So
Acorn V for
the website,
Okay.
.org. So ACORNV.org,
what's the V for?
Nevada. Acorn and Nevada.
Nevada.
On the
got
end.
you. Okay.
Or they can call the office, which is 775-505-2272. You're always welcome to email me. It's Kathie, Kathie, @acornv.org.
Okay. Now, I know you're going to get some calls about volunteers because this is an interesting program. Just to call Kathie and say, look, I'm interested in becoming an advocate,
Yep.
a mentor for the ACORN program, and here's my information.
Yep. And if you can't volunteer, you can always attend one of our events. We've got our luau's coming up September 30th. In the meantime, we'll be selling raffle tickets for a 1-week stay on beautiful Kauai in Hawaii. It's $1,500 along with the week's vacation. You can do whatever you want to with the $1,500. Second place will get $500. And we're hoping to throw in a couple baskets. The drawing will be at the luau September 30th. We're going to have it again at the Calvada Eye. Lots of wonderful food, and we're bringing back our Hawaiian dancers.
Oh, this is fantastic. So you can volunteer, and remember, this is a fundraiser. So when you see the ACORN tickets for sale, be sure to participate. This is a fundraiser to help our kids and to help them get this program, this ACORN program, up and running. And so that we're helping all the kids in Southern Nevada.
All the kids in Southern Nevada.
Come back and join us for the next session because we've got more information for you. Welcome back. We're back with you. I still have Kathie McKenna with me. She's the Executive Director for Nevada Outreach, and she's also the Executive Director for ACORN. And we covered ACORN in detail, but we know you want to make some calls and find out more about it. But we're going to talk about Nevada Outreach because that's another thing that helps our community. It is so important.
I feel almost like I need to change hats or something.
Almost. But you've got it so well prepared that you don't have to worry about it. You can just switch from one to the other.
They do intermesh very nicely, and so that's what's really nice because one helps the other and vice versa, so it works out really good.
Okay. That's almost like speaking two languages.
It's
though.
almost to myself.
Okay.
So one of the big things that's happening at Nevada Outreach right now is that Nevada Outreach got a $1.182 million grant
Wow.
from Nye County. It's
Okay.
ARPA monies that was given to the state, and the state delivered it down to each of the counties, and we were lucky enough to be given the responsibility to help community members in our community, all of Nye County, to help with their housing needs.
Beautiful.
So the money can be used for rental assistance, for mortgage assistance, and for utility assistance. And Tom, I know it's hard to believe, but we've got people that are still struggling from our COVID days. Everybody thought that once COVID was over, life would just go back to normal.
Wow, yeah.
And life has not gone back to normal. And we're seeing people that have been behind multiple months with their rent and their mortgage. They're just struggling to get caught up. And it's hard when you've got that lack of income unless you try to get a second job or, trying to save money doesn't usually work when you're already at max. And so this is helping people get back on solid footing so that they can have sustainability going forward. And I can't stress enough about sustainability. Trying to get people's life normal. Lives can't be normal without some stability in their life.
Yes.
I think that's where people fall into drugs. I think that's where people fall into alcohol. And because, you know what, it's tough to get through. Their family's counting on them. They're working their tails off. They're not getting ahead. And I think there's just a sense of frustration. And so we have allocated for direct client services is over $1 million. As of the end of June, we had already spent $565,000.
Wow. Okay.
So if you would have told me that we would have been spending $100,000 a month, I'd have bet you any amount of money somebody could have gotten rich.
Yes.
There's no way we would ever be spending that money, and it has to be spent this year. It's either use it
or lose
it.
Okay.
And when the county was given this money, this is a perfect opportunity. Let's get this money out into the hands of individuals. We've had some people come in that need help with rent, but when we sit down with them, we do a complete intake. So someone might come in and say, you know, my refrigerator's broken. Is there any way you could help me with a refrigerator? So we do a complete intake. Well, this person might be 2 months behind on rent and a month behind on their utilities, but their emergent need right then and there is that refrigerator. So if I helped them with a refrigerator, am I fixing their problem?
Not at all.
No, I'm putting a Band-Aid on a broken arm.
Yep.
So the way we look at it, we try to treat the whole individual, the whole family. Let's get you on right footing so you can sustain yourself. Let's get those mortgage bills caught up or your rent bills. Let's get your utility caught up. Sometimes we find that because of COVID, their income has dropped and they can't afford the place they're in. So we've also helped several people move in somewhere else to a place that they can afford and sustain. Now, one of the big problems right now is housing. We are feeling such a horrible housing crunch. There's just not enough affordable housing.
Before you get into the housing part, so when you talk about the complete intake, you're looking at budgeting, you're looking at their finances to help them budget better.
Exactly. And some people we tell, we're going to help you, but you have to go through a budgeting class first.
Okay.
So we hold a budgeting class. We sit down, and then they're able, a lot of times, no one's ever shown them how to budget.
Yes.
So they can sit down and go through and say, oh, I see what I'm supposed to do. Yeah, I guess Starbucks every day doesn't need to happen, does it? Nope, get a coffee maker at home. It's much cheaper. But it's little things of adjusting their life so that it's not a horrible adjustment. But as I said, sometimes we find that they're in over their head and they need to downsize a bit, find a cheaper place. But the problem is our affordable housing.
You know, if you watch TV, and many people are going to be watching TV, and you can see where you can get this loan or that loan, and all that does is dig that hole deeper.
It does. We had one person that came to us that in order to try to save their house, they took out 21 credit cards. Okay, that is not sustainable.
That's a fact.
That is not, so now not only do they own on their mortgage, but they owe huge debt in credit card.
Yeah.
We've had people take out personal loans and the little short payday loans where they charge you interest that's just totally usurious. I mean, I can't believe people actually feel it's okay to charge that kind of interest. And so they do. And so hopefully we're able to turn that around. But trying to get the housing, and our housing costs have gone up. We have some people who landlords have been charging $700 a month, and they're raising it to $2,000. Mm-hmm. And it's, you know, to be able to pay for $2,000, you need to make $6,000 a month.
Yes.
And to make $6,000 a month, you're looking at making $35 an hour. It's not going to happen. And a lot of the folks in the community are concerned about affordable housing, but just remember, we do have a heavy retirement community here. Mm-hmm. So unless those that are retired would like to go back to work and start frying their hamburgers at McDonald's and bagging the groceries at Smith's, I think our retirement community ought to be standing up and saying, hey, we need affordable housing so we can have people here to be able to provide these things like gas station attendant.
Absolutely.
And somebody that's going to be a waitress at Mom's Diner. There's a whole lot of jobs out there that they cannot make. I was speaking with a young lady the other day who makes very good money, and she says, I have to live at home with my parents, and I'm in my late 30s because I do not make enough. And I'm not poor. I'm not getting food stamps. I don't qualify for any benefits, but I don't make enough to live in our housing community. And she says, trying to find a room, they want $900 for a room and a shared bathroom. So we really need to see if we can bring developers in that not only provide housing, but also affordable housing. They can usually designate about 20% like of apartments that have a lower income so people can get in. I have folks with vouchers that cannot even find homes. And here they've got a voucher that says the government will pay or pay part of my housing, but I don't have the ability to find a home to be able to use that voucher. So we're struggling right now. We really are as a community.
Affordable housing is crucial. And I think the one thing that I think most of us will understand when you say that is if we want services in our town, people have to live somewhere if they're going to provide those services. We want the services, and we're saying, but we don't want the people. Something's wrong with that.
That's right. That's right. Something's got to give. If you want services, you have to have the people that's going to be able to provide those services.
And they've got to have some place to live.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And so...
And you're not talking about low-income homes. You're talking about affordable homes.
Exactly. Exactly.
There is a difference.
There is. A lot of people think affordable housing is housing for the homeless, which I could also spend an entire program discussing homelessness, because we do have an issue of homelessness here.
Yes, we do.
Nevada Outreach is the intake site, one of the intake sites in Nye County for homeless individuals. So is the Health and Human Services. But that's another whole project to go down, but it's still something that we need to look into. We do work very closely with the homeless. We work with the wraparound events to be able to help our homeless in our community, but we really need affordable housing, which is a completely separate issue than homelessness.
Affordable housing for veterans. We have veterans that are vetted by the VA. We're talking about service-connected, 100% disabled veterans receiving about $4,000 a month. Can't find a place to live.
Exactly,
It's
exactly.
rough.
And we've been working with an individual that's looking to try to make a veterans community, and we'll see if that actually passes through in the county. But it would allow service-disabled veterans to have a community, a place to be, and to provide that housing, because it is frustrating to see those that served our country who are, in essence, in the same boat as homeless.
Yes.
And it's a sad situation, and we need to wake up in our country and see what can we do to make a difference. And we need to do it sooner rather than later.
And Nevada Outreach is a way of doing that. I know that because I work with the Disabled American Veterans, also the VFW, the American Legion, and also the Marine Corps League. They're all trying to do something for veterans. And when we have a veteran in need, first place I go is to Kathie, because Kathie vets all the people that are in need. They'll come to her first, and when she refers them to us, we know they've already been vetted, they've already been looked at, and then we can provide the help that we can do.
Absolutely, and we appreciate, because veterans are sometimes a little too proud to come into our office.
Yes, we are.
And so when another veteran encourages them to come to our office, and it's even individuals. If you know somebody out there that's struggling right now, please give us a call. The number's on the screen. We would love for you to come by and sit down and let us see what we can do to help. We've got this money right now. It's for Nye County residents, and it's so important.
It is so important. And again, I want to thank Kathie for being here this evening, telling you all about Nevada Outreach as well as ACORN. And all you have to do is contact Kathie to get more information. Again, thank you, and we'll see you at the next show. Welcome back. We're so glad to have you back with us. We have more information for you, so I hope you're writing all this information down. I have with me at this time Diane Southworth. She's the facilitator for community outreach. And I know you're asking, what does community outreach do? How is it helping our community? And Diane's going to tell us all about that. Now, I know they meet once a month, and I know they invite many people to the meetings. So if you have not been to one of the meetings, Diane's going to let you know how to attend the meeting and what to expect when you get there. So Diane, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tom. Glad to be here.
I am so glad to have you because, you know, I get to see you at the meeting every month, and I listen to all the things that you provide. And I know there's a lot of people in our viewing audience that may be unaware of everything that's done there. So tell us about community outreach, what you do, where you are, and how it works.
Well, let's start out with it. It meets on July the 12th, which is the second Wednesday of the month at 11:30 at the Methodist Church there at the Calvada roundabout. And
now, before you say that, I know what she said about the date of doing that, but it's always the second Wednesday.
Second Wednesday, yes. Second
Wednesday, remember that. So whatever that date is, that's when you can attend. So if you can't make it one month, you can make it the next one. Go ahead.
And the whole idea is that we want to get people in the community together to help the rest of the communities. Yes. There's so many different things that can be done. We work on 3 different areas. One of them is food security. We also working on trying to help with substance abuse, and also we work on housing. Those 3 things. We also get some information from other areas, like we had a gentleman come in and do a complete talk on the 211 number. I'd never really thought about it before. I just assumed that it was there and I didn't know what it was used for. Come to find out, it's used for a lot of things. If you have a mental health problem, you can call them. They ask for your first name and your zip code so they can get you to the proper help. They will help with finding out about a place to help you with utilities, with rent, with all kinds of things. If you're in an abusive relationship, they can help you to find the right people to help you out. There's so many different things that they do. And it's a statewide program. It's run out of Las Vegas, but they strictly work with your zip code so they can get you to the closest place that would help.
Diane, I have to stop you on that only because, you know, I listened to that presentation, and I've been around Nevada for a while.
Yeah.
I did not know about the 211 number.
Yes, and I think it's a great program.
It is.
And 211 is all you have to remember. Call 211 if you're in a crisis situation or you need somebody to talk to, and they'll get you to the right people to help you.
It's not 911. It's not like it's an emergency, but it's something where you need information.
Right. And there's all kinds of information out there that will help a lot of different people with different things. And I was even amazed at all the different things that they could help with. I couldn't even begin to list them all. There's so many, because if you got a problem, call them. That's what they're there for.
But they can also Google 211 and find out everything that Diane has just talked about.
Absolutely. And I'm sure they have a website, I believe, as well.
They do.
Yeah.
I Googled it while he was talking because, like I said, I had not heard of it.
Right.
And I was really impressed with everything. And I know if you do the same thing and look at 211, you're going to be impressed as well. Diane has brought this on to us, and I really appreciate you bringing that information.
Yeah.
But you've got so much more. Go ahead.
Well, the other thing we do is people come in and give us information so that we can better help the community. One of the things that I like to talk about is food insecurity, because there's a lot of it out there. Just looking at, in April, the food banks served 8,600 people.
Wow.
In May, it was over 11,000. So there's definitely a problem. Now, these food banks are, many times they're churches, they're all type of groups that have pantries and so on, and they do help out. One of the most impressive ones that doesn't get much acknowledgement is the LDS Church. They have committed to every other month supplying the food banks with pallets of food. Last month, they brought in 12 pallets of food.
Beautiful.
And the people, all the food banks met, took what they could and took what they needed, and it helped the whole community. You don't have to be a big donor to help. You can do little things that will help. Maybe if you go through your pantry and you see some things that you haven't used, but they're still in good condition, they're usable, they're in code, think about giving them to some of the pantries. If they can't use them, maybe you can donate some time to help them to give out food. So there's always ways that people can help, and that's what we try to do, is get the information out there and to do as much as we can to help the community. So, and we have a gal, her name is Sam, she works with Nye CC, which is Nye Community Coalition, and she has brought that to a new level in getting all of the food bank information from all of the food banks and giving us the information that we need so that we can tell you what's going on. That's the important part.
That is truly community outreach.
Yes, it is, and I enjoy it. I'm older, so I don't do as much as I probably could, but I do what I can, and I do go to the commissioners' meeting and let them know all of the new things that are going on, so you can also go there. There are so many different things that are going on. Substance abuse. We had a gentleman, they had a group that came in and talked to us about substance abuse and the Narcan system. Right now, the Nye Community Coalition has free Narcan kits for businesses. They'll bring them into your business, they'll install them, they'll train you how to use them, and so if you ever have a problem with someone on drugs, you'll be there to possibly save their lives. Because we have such a problem with overdosing, and fentanyl is terrible. It's probably the worst thing that we've seen. It's worse than heroin, all the rest of them, because it will kill. And they explained to us how kids don't know, because some of these things can be put into things that look like candy.
Yep.
And they'll eat them, and the next thing you know, you've lost a child. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. I keep thinking of my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, and I really want them to be in a good place that they don't need to do that. So they also, NICC had a trailer that they came up with that was a teenager's room. And it allowed parents to go through and see where all these things can be hidden so that you as a good parent can do a job of making sure your children are taken care of and that you can treat them as needed to get them past any type of problem that they might have. So it's so important, and nobody wants all these drugs out there. They don't do anybody any good, and they just strictly are terrible to for the community, and I don't know how to express it any other way.
That's true.
And then one of the other things that the other thing too that we had that came in that I thought was pretty interesting, we had a couple of veterans that came in, and we were always happy to have our veterans there. Okay, so that's always nice, and they want to set up a program here in Nye County to help people do their taxes, and they would be out here 3 days a week from October through April, I believe it is, to get people to get their taxes done and caught up and do whatever is necessary, and they're willing to work free of charge, and they will help people to get their taxes done. A lot of people don't realize that even if you don't owe taxes, you should still file them. I don't know whether a lot of people realize that. But I know I file mine every year, and so it's something that I think everybody should really take a look at. And the last thing that we work on,
Even beyond that,
Yeah.
the individuals you're talking about, that's federal income tax assistance, and
Yeah.
it's through the IRS,
yes,
and they'll do your taxes free of charge.
you're right.
So yes, thanks again for bringing that information to us.
We all need that help. They don't help with someone who has a rental that they're so it's just strictly for low income type situations. And the last thing that we work on is housing, and that's probably the most important. Having listened to the previous person that was on here, Kathie, I agree with her 100%. Housing is a cure. If we can get people into stable homes, then we can do a lot to make the rest of their life work. And we hope that at some point we can, we've got updated information on who will take Section 8 housing. And a lot of people say, well, Section 8 housing, that's bad. No, it isn't. To be on Section 8 housing, you have to have an income. You have to have a job. It's something that you just don't make enough money to support the number of people in your family. Years ago, when my daughter was young, I was on it for a year. I was working a full-time 40-hour-a-week job. I didn't make enough money to be able to pay rent, buy groceries, get to and from work, buy clothes, etc. for my daughter. So it's very important that you realize that it's not people who are living off of the system. I think people don't realize that there's a big difference between that and somebody just, oh, I don't want to work.
Look, we're gonna cover a lot more in our next session, so we want to make sure that you're writing this down and listening to Diane when she gives you all this information. And we want you to come back for the next session because she just touched the surface of everything that's available. Welcome back. As always, I hate to get to our last session because we've got so much information we want to provide to you, and at the same time, we want to make sure we don't leave anything out. But we have so much more when we talk about community outreach. These are all of our communities coming together. Diane has mentioned Nye CC many times, and many people don't know that that's Nye Communities Coalition. All the Nye communities coming together to help each other, and that's so important. And I'm going to also ask Diane to talk about when they meet. She gave you where they meet, but you can repeat that.
Yes, and we meet on the second Wednesday of every month, and it's at 11:30 at the Methodist Church, which is right by the first roundabout on 372.
Okay.
So it's very easy, and we try to supply a little bit of food for lunch, so that makes it a little more fun.
I like that. I like that part. The food is always good.
It depends. And then, so basically, I would like to really talk about how you can get involved.
Okay.
I think that there's always something somebody can do. They may not realize they can do it, but they can. Anybody is welcome to our meetings. You can come in and find out what's going on. We have a lot of people that come in. We have one of the things we have the person from that comes in from WIC and tells us what they do with which is the women's infants. I'm not sure what the C stands for, but commodities, I believe. But anyway, it helps young mothers with new infants, and also some of them with postpartum. So they come in and tell us what they can do. Like they've come up with coupons to use at the farmers market during the summer. I believe it's the senior center, has 2 months that they can also get coupons for seniors to go down and get fresh food and produce from the farmers market. So you learn all these things by attending these meetings, and by finding out what your organization could possibly do to help. And it doesn't even have to be an organization. One of the most outstanding things that I saw was at a commissioners meeting when we had several young women come in with their infants. It was the neatest thing. They must have had, there were 4 of them that spoke. There was an article in the paper about it, so I'm sure you may have read about it. But they must have had another 10 or 15 women there with their toddlers, and they were wanting a splash pad for the toddlers so that they could take them down there and run them through the water. And they had a whole program. Each one of those women, those young women, had a segment to talk about. And they took, each of them took their 3 minutes that they had, and they explained the whole thing. It was wonderful. What you can do when you decide you want to do it. Is there something that the community needs that maybe we haven't thought about? That maybe you have a group of friends that you play cards with, or that you go to bingo with, or that you do certain other things with, or a group of community activists, or just anybody actually that can get together with 3 or 4 people and say, hey, what does the town need? What does the community need? And this is for all of Nye County. It's not just Pahrump. They also meet in Tonopah. They help out, they go to Amargosa and help out, and they do all kinds of things. So you need to be aware that you can help in your community, and I think that's the important thing. What is it that your town or your community needs, and where can I go to help them get that? And how can I get a group together to advocate for it? Because if you don't tell us what you need, we never know. Right?
That's a fact. But Diane, I also have to ask, because you have a room full of people that are coming, and they're primarily from Pahrump, but you also have people from Las Vegas and other places that come in by Zoom.
Right.
Can you tell us about that?
Well, if you go to the Nye Community Coalition's website, which is nycc.org, you can find out the agenda, and I believe you can zoom in through Zoom, and you can actually listen to the meeting, and you can speak at the meeting, and you just don't get the food.
You missed the lunch, okay.
You missed the lunch. And like I said, we have people that are just doing a tremendous job, but many of them are from the Nye Community Coalition. But we have other church groups that come in and help. And it doesn't have to be a church group. It can be any type of organization that you want it to be. And just somebody who has the idea that we can make Nye County a better place to live. I just think it's so important. I keep coming back to the fact that I'm turning into my mother. She was a retired school teacher, and she started a senior center in our hometown. And actually, when she passed away, she donated 10 acres for a park.
Oh, okay.
And it's named after her, which I think is pretty remarkable. But she put a stipulation on there that said, if you don't turn it into a park, it reverts back to my heirs.
Okay.
They turned it into a park.
Very good. Okay.
So there's things that you can do, and I don't know. There's between the food security, the housing, and the substance abuse, and maybe get the training. We also have the Nye Community Coalition, which I am a big supporter of. They have different programs, like they have a Zoom program where you can learn to do some form of exercises, how to eat better, where to buy the right foods to get the nutrition that you need. And I think that teaching people how to make their lives better is also important. And maybe that's the school teacher part of me coming out. But
It works. It works. Yes.
But I just love the fact that the Nevada Outreach does budgeting. I think budgeting is probably one of the biggest problems that we have, is people have never been taught how to budget. And so between the housing, which I think is probably the stability factor that helps us get to the rest of it, that there's just so many different things. So look around, find out, check with us, call me, 775-751-5363, and we can see where you might want to fit in, what you might want to do. And I think that that's probably the most important part.
Well, you know, there's another thing that they do at the community outreach meetings. If you have an interest, as Diane was already talking about, there's so many things that you might want to share with the community.
Exactly.
If you bring your flyers and you can pass those out, they will help you pass those out throughout Nye Communities Coalition. So if you have a function that's going on that you want to get that word out, you've got a flyer, you can get that to each person that's in the meeting.
Right.
And also the people that are on Zoom get a chance to find out exactly what it is you're advocating.
Exactly.
So again, coming to the meeting is so crucial.
I think it is. It's been a tremendous thing for me to do. It's once a month, just a little time out of your busy schedule. And if you're retired, you don't have a busy schedule, so just figure out a way to help out. I'm terrible, but so I just think that when you look at it, there are food pantries. We have one with Joy Divine Church, Faith Fellowship, the Salvation Army, Oasis Outreach, the United Methodist Church, New Hope Fellowship. They all have different days, and I think there's even more on the back page here, which is Prompt Community Church, VFW. There's that information is also listed. I believe you can get that at the Nye Community Coalition. Also, they have brochures down there that give you a complete list of all the different things and all the different places that you have that you can get resourced from. And that's everything from transportation to domestic violence, food pantries, sober living. We had the Living Free come down and talk to us about that. And I was very impressed with them because they actually have, 3 houses in town?
Yes.
One for women, one for men, and one with women with small children. And they give them a place to live. They have to get a job. They have to stay clean and sober. They give them counseling. They take them to the gym 3 days a week. They have a restaurant which serves healthy food, which is really nice, down on Mesquite and 160. Check it out. And so that's where we learn about these things. I didn't know that we had 3 houses in town. They're looking on possibly a 4th one.
Yep.
So come find out what's going on, because that's what we really need, is people to get involved. And once you get involved, it's a lot of fun.
That's community outreach. And again, the facilitator is Diane Southworth. She chairs the meetings. She gets us going in the right direction. As she stated, the meeting starts at 11:30. 11:30 and ends at 1 o'clock. So an hour and a half, and you get all of this information. So, and it's the second Wednesday every month at the Methodist Church.
Right, and you meet a lot of really nice people.
Absolutely.
They're there to help, and they do a good job.
And you get to meet Diane. You get to meet Diane, you get to talk to her and volunteer. When you come in and say, look, I'd like to do this, this, or this, Diane is going to help you become a volunteer to help get all this information out to our community.
Exactly.
Nye Communities Coalition is just fantastic.
I love it. It's been a really fun experience for me. I've been doing it for, about 3 years or more?
Well,
quite a while.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Evidently.
Okay, look, that's our program for this evening. We hope you got a lot out of it. Be sure to contact Diane and get more information. And next month, we want you to come back and join us for another outstanding show. Thank you.